Markets once again this morning under pressure. Much of the blame today going to Apple. Let's take a look at Apple shares down sharply in the pre-market, down 7.7%. This, of course, in response to the company cutting its sales forecast, prompted by a downturn in iPhone sales in China. And that is raising fears that more companies will be feeling the sting of Chinese economic troubles. Let's bring in Ian Wishingrad of Big Eyed Wish and Jason Barsema of Halo Investing. Gentlemen, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning.
So there's, Jason, I want to start with you. It seems like the China story presents a twofold vulnerability for many multinationals. The Chinese consumer weakening and disrupting the Chinese supply chain. Who else is vulnerable?
Yeah, I think that when you kind of look at Apple, they can have the double whammy effect of not only the tariffs, but the slowing consumer in China. And potentially retaliatory tariffs from China and that impact on the U.S. consumer. If you want to look at other manufacturers, you can look at, or other technology companies, you can look at Intel and Dell that will also be impacted. But we should also look at other consumer brands such as Starbucks, which opens up a store every few hours in China. And they project that's going to be their largest market. If the China consumer slows, that's going to be a problem for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ian, what would you make of an anti-American sentiment sweeping through China that could affect the Chinese consumer?
Yeah, I'm not really sure about. I'm not sure how the Chinese consumers view us in that respect. They don't get enough information from there. And I think that this is the reason for the slump for Apple. But I think it's also a little bit of a scapegoat. I think there's a bigger Apple story here. They've managed their growth, which is still all coming from the Steve Jobs era. But there is a void of magic leadership there. So Tim Cook was a great COO, and he's operating the company, but I'm missing where that Elon Musk character is in Apple, and I think that's a scarier thing for the company going forward.
What do you make of that, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, Apple's got a few different problems, which one is not just the Chinese consumer problem. I also think it's just a technology problem. I mean, what are the latest, greatest features that Apple has really released within its, flagship iPhone, besides maybe face recognition, which works probably only 50% of the time on my own phone. But going back to your previous comment, actually, we have a lot of business in China. I literally just got back from Hong Kong. When you look at the consumer in China, they don't really look negatively on the U.S. business and the U.S. consumer. I mean, I've asked a lot of different business executives in a lot of different industries, and I didn't get that feedback at all. The feedback that I got was if the Chinese government wants to limit consumption of American goods, they can do it, such as Korean automobiles just as recently as a couple years ago. That's the risk.
Thank you, Jason. That's an excellent point. But I'm going to go back to something, Ian, that you said. When we speak of the China slowdown with their manufacturing sector, their economy in general, and we speak of this trade dispute between Washington and Beijing, these are geopolitical risks. And increasingly, companies, when they're guiding down for the quarter, for the year, whatever, they can use those excuses as scapegoats. That's a problem to you.
Yeah, I think it is a little bit of an excuse. I'm missing where this magic is. I mean, Apple did poach the head of artificial intelligence from Google, which is great because that is what they need to do. They need to catch way up. They don't have that. Their little HomePod is no Amazon Alexa speaker. They're missing a huge data gap. So until they figure it out, either internally or M&A their way there, they have an innovation issue.
Ian, follow-up. Is there more room then for tech to sink?
Yes, I think tech got so big, there's more room to retreat, not to some insane place, but yes, there's still room to go down.
Jason, what's the new leadership in technology?
I continue to believe in Amazon as the stalwart as they continue to expand businesses. I was reading an interesting article on Bloomberg the other day about how they're thinking about or potentially should think about buying gas stations. An interesting kind of depots for them to have or collect consumer data, be able to have their different storage lockers and have them be different outposts along with Whole Foods. Amazon is encroaching on virtually every single industry, and I continue to think they're the leader. As
you're speaking, I'm saying no, Amazon can't get any bigger. At some point, maybe the government's going to
look at Costco. 10% of the revenue is from gas, so there is precedent for it.
Oh, gosh, though, could you just imagine? And consumers would go to an Amazon gas station. That could be
absolutely the
bigger problem here. Ian, what do you think the new leadership in tech is?
I completely concur. I think it's Amazon. Amazon became the third biggest digital media player. It was all the money all the money is coming from Google and Facebook, and now Amazon finished the year with $8 billion or somewhere north of that in terms of advertising revenue alone. So yeah, they're just kind of going to keep cleaning up. I think Amazon's biggest competition is DC, and there's a reason that Jeff Bezos bought the Post and has a house there. That's his competitor, no one else.
Does Amazon have any issues, Jason, with respect to a trade war?
Well, I mean, certainly as Amazon continues to expand in what products that it actually hosts on Amazon's site and where some of those products actually get manufactured, there could be some issues, but I think that they're relatively insulated because the majority of the consumers are right here in America.
Yeah, well, the market is down today. Amazon stock is down 2.5%, but at $1,500 a share. Ian, Jason, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.